Young barista remembers every customer's order, not realizing she's serving a memory research scientist who notices her extraordinary gift from the corner table each morning. Lily Mason's fingers danced across the espresso machine with practiced precision, her movements a ballet of efficiency in the cramped space behind the counter at the daily grind. "Medium oat milk latte with an extra shot and light cinnamon for Sandra," she called out with a warm smile, sliding the cup across the counter before its owner even reached the register. "And I remembered no vanilla today." The woman's eyebrows lifted in pleasant surprise. "You remembered!" "Thank you, Lily." This was Lily's small superpower, the ability to recall every customer, every preference, every small adjustment to their usual order. It wasn't something she tried to do. The information simply stuck in her mind like seeds in fertile soil, growing roots without effort. The morning rush ebbed and flowed around her like a tide, and Lily moved through it with the grace of someone who found comfort in routine. Each familiar face that appeared at her counter was a brief connection in a life otherwise defined by isolation. "The usual, Mr. Harrington? Earl Grey, splash of milk, no sugar?" she asked the elderly man in a tweed jacket who came every Tuesday and Thursday. "You're a marvel, my dear," he replied with the same delighted surprise he showed every time, though she'd been serving him the same drink for nearly 2 years. What Lily didn't notice was the man in the corner, the one who had been coming in for the past 3 weeks, ordering a simple black coffee and watching her with quiet intensity. Dr. Nathan Reed, Associate Professor of Neuroscience and Memory Studies at Westlake University, had first stopped in for convenience. He kept coming back because of her. Today he approached the counter during a lull, notebook tucked under his arm. "Good morning," Lily greeted him with the same warmth she offered everyone. "Black coffee again today?" Nathan nodded, a gentle smile crossing his features. "You remember?" "Of course," she replied, as if it were the most natural thing in the world to recall the preferences of someone who'd spoken fewer than 20 words to her across 3 weeks of brief interactions. As she prepared his coffee, Nathan cleared his throat. "You have quite a memory." Lily shrugged, not meeting his eyes as she secured the lid on his cup. "It's just coffee orders." "Still, it's remarkable," he insisted, his voice carrying a weight of expertise she couldn't have recognized. "Most people can't remember what they had for dinner 2 nights ago, let alone the specific preferences of dozens of customers." Lily handed him his coffee, uncomfortable with the attention. Her memory wasn't something she discussed, not since childhood when it had made her different, when difference meant isolation. "That'll be $3.25. Nathan paid and returned to his corner table, where he opened his notebook and made a few notes. The interaction replayed in his mind, adding to the pattern he'd been observing. Her memory wasn't just good, it was potentially extraordinary. Behind the counter, Lily tried to shake off the discomfort of the conversation. Her ability to remember wasn't something special, it was just how her mind worked. And lately, it felt more like a burden than a gift. Because while Lily remembered everyone else's preferences with perfect clarity, her own life was slipping away in fragments. Her mother, once vibrant and loving, now struggled to recognize her own daughter on her bad days. Early onset Alzheimer's was erasing the woman who had raised her, and Lily's perfect memory only made the contrast more painful. After her shift ended, Lily hung her apron and headed to Sunset Pines Care Facility, the weight of her backpack heavy with a book she'd brought to read aloud, the same book she'd been reading for weeks because her mother forgot the story between visits. "Hi, Mom," she said softly, entering the room where Eleanor Mason sat in a chair by the window, her once sharp eyes now vague and unfocused. "Oh, hello," Eleanor replied with the polite smile she gave to strangers. Lily swallowed the familiar pain. "It's me, Mom." Lily. A flicker of recognition there and gone. "Lily, of course." Then, with genuine confusion, "Did we have plans today?" Lily sat beside her, taking her mother's hand. "We always have plans on Wednesday, Mom. I come after my shift at the coffee shop." "You work at a coffee shop?" Eleanor asked, genuinely interested, as if hearing this for the first time. "Yes," Lily replied, the word catching in her throat. "The daily grind. For almost 3 years now." "That sounds lovely," Eleanor said, patting Lily's hand with the absent affection of someone trying to comfort a person they didn't quite recognize. Lily opened the book, finding the dog-eared page where they'd left off last time. As she read, she wondered, not for the first time, about the cruel irony that had blessed her with perfect recall while cursing her mother with its opposite. Was memory a gift that could be passed along somehow? Or was she destined to remember everything, including every moment of her mother's forgetting? The next morning, the man from the corner table, Nathan, arrived at the coffee shop earlier than usual. Lily was setting up, the quiet pre-opening routine a balm to her spirit after another difficult visit with her mother. "We're not open for another 15 minutes, she called when she heard the door. "I know," Nathan replied. "I was hoping to talk to you before the morning rush." Lily looked up, recognition flickering across her features. "Black coffee guy. We don't have any brewed yet." "That's not why I'm here." He approached the counter, extending his hand. "I'm Dr. Nathan Reed. I study memory at Westlake University, and I'd like to talk to you about yours." Lily's hands stilled on the paper cups she'd been stacking. "My memory? I've been observing you for the past few weeks," he admitted, then quickly added, "Professionally, I mean. Your ability to recall customer preferences is extraordinary. It's just coffee orders." Lily repeated her dismissal from the day before, discomfort evident in the way her shoulders tensed. "But it's not, is it?" Nathan pressed gently. "I've watched you remember people who haven't been in for weeks. You recall specific modifications to orders that were mentioned once in passing. That's not typical." Lily resumed her stacking, more forcefully now. "What do you want from me, Dr. Reed?" "I'm conducting a study on exceptional memory," he explained, placing his card on the counter between them. "People with abilities like yours could help us understand how memory works, and maybe even how to help people who are losing theirs." The mention of memory loss made Lily's hands tremble slightly. She thought of her mother, staring at her with that polite, empty smile. She thought of the medical bills piling up, of the experimental treatments they couldn't afford. "What kind of study?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Non-invasive cognitive testing, mostly. We'd pay for your time, of course." Nathan leaned forward slightly. "Your type of memory, highly specific autobiographical and episodic recall, is exactly what we're researching." Lily picked up his card, turning it over in her fingers. "Dr. Nathan Reed, Associate Professor of Neuroscience, Westlake University Memory Research Center." "I'll think about it," she said finally. "That's all I ask," Nathan replied, his voice gentle. "And Lily? What you have is special. Don't dismiss it." After he left, Lily stood motionless behind the counter, the weight of his words settling around her. No one had ever suggested her memory might be valuable before. Growing up, it had been the thing that made classmates uncomfortable. Lily, the freaky human camera. They'd called her when she could recite conversations verbatim or remember what everyone wore to school 3 months prior. She'd learned to hide it, to pretend not to remember quite so much. But what if that ability could help her mother somehow? Or people like her? The thought followed her throughout her shift, lingering as she served the morning regulars. Mr. Harrington with his Earl Grey, Sandra and her oat milk latte, the young lawyer who ordered a different complicated drink every day but always returned to a vanilla cold brew by the end of the week. After work, instead of going straight to Sunset Pines, Lily found herself walking toward Westlake University. Dr. Reed's card felt heavy in her pocket, a potential doorway to something she couldn't yet define. The Memory Research Center occupied the east wing of the neuroscience building, its glass doors bearing the simple logo of a stylized brain. Lily hesitated before pushing them open, unsure if she was making a mistake. The receptionist looked up with professional warmth. "Can I help you?" "I'm looking for Dr. Reed," Lily said, her voice steadier than she felt. "He asked me to come. Do you have an appointment?" "No, Lily faltered, suddenly feeling foolish. "He gave me his card this morning. I'm Lily Mason." Recognition flickered across the receptionist's face. "Oh, the barista." "Yes, doctor. Reed mentioned you might stop by. Let me see if he's available." Minutes later, Nathan emerged from a hallway, genuine surprise and pleasure brightening his features when he saw her. "Lily, I didn't expect you so soon." "I can come back another time?" she offered quickly. No, I'm glad you're here." He gestured toward the hallway. "Would you like a tour?" The laboratory was nothing like Lily had imagined. Instead of clinical white walls and intimidating equipment, it was a collection of comfortable rooms with soft lighting. Students and researchers moved between spaces, engaged in conversation. One room held what looked like simple computer games. Another had people in reclined chairs with small sensors attached to their temples. "We study memory in all its forms here," Nathan explained as they walked. "How we form memories, how we recall them, why some stick while others fade, and how some people lose them entirely," Lily added quietly. Nathan's steps slowed as he turned to look at her. Yes, that too. Something in his expression made Lily wonder if he had personal experience with memory loss, if that was what drove his research. But she didn't ask. Instead, she took a deep breath and said, "I want to know more about your study, about how I might help." They settled in Nathan's office, a space cluttered with books and papers but somehow still welcoming. A single photograph sat on his desk, Nathan with an older woman, both smiling at the camera. "Our current research focuses on people with exceptional memory abilities," he explained. "We're trying to understand the neural mechanisms that allow some individuals to encode and retrieve memories with unusual precision or volume." "And you think I have that?" "I know you do." His certainty was startling. "What you demonstrate daily goes beyond good memory, Lily. The way you connect specific preferences with faces, the way you recall details from weeks prior, it's textbook highly superior autobiographical memory, or HSAM. The clinical term made Lily uncomfortable. It doesn't feel special. It just feels like remembering. That's often how it is with natural abilities," Nathan said with a gentle smile. "They feel ordinary to the person who has them." Lily looked down at her hands, folded tightly in her lap. "If I participated in your study, what would happen exactly?" "We'd start with some baseline cognitive assessments, memory tests, brain scans to observe your neural activity during recall tasks, all non-invasive," he assured her. "Then we'd move into more specific testing of your autobiographical memory, your ability to recall personal experiences and information. And this would help with Alzheimer's research?" she asked, the question that mattered most to her. Nathan's expression softened. "Is that why you're interested? Do you know someone with Alzheimer's?" Lily nodded, not trusting her voice for a moment. "My mother. Early onset. She's only 53, but some days she doesn't recognize me at all." Understanding dawned in Nathan's eyes. "I'm so sorry, Lily. That's incredibly difficult." "She used to have a memory like mine," Lily continued, the words spilling out now. "She remembered everything. Birthdays, phone numbers, the name of every teacher I ever had. And now she can't remember what I told her 5 minutes ago." Nathan leaned forward, his professional demeanor giving way to genuine compassion. "Memory disorders are what brought me to this field. My grandmother," he gestured to the photograph on his desk, "had vascular dementia. I watched her memories disappear piece by piece. The shared understanding hung between them, a bridge forming over their separate pain. To answer your question directly," Nathan continued after a moment, "yes, understanding exceptional memory could help us develop better approaches for memory disorders. The contrast between how your brain encodes and retrieves memories versus how that process breaks down in Alzheimer's provides valuable insights." "Then I want to participate," Lily said firmly. "If there's any chance it could help people like my mom, I want to do it." "Thank you," Nathan replied, the simple words carrying the weight of his gratitude. "We'll schedule your first session at your convenience. And Lily, this won't be a cure for your mother, but it is a step toward better understanding." "I know," she said quietly. "Sometimes steps are all we have." As she left the research center, Lily felt a strange mixture of hope and trepidation. She was offering up the one thing that had always made her different, the thing she'd learned to hide. But maybe, just maybe, that difference could become something meaningful. The next afternoon, Lily sat in a comfortable reclining chair, small sensors attached to her scalp, while a research assistant named Maya explained the procedure. "We'll show you a series of images and I'll ask you questions about them afterward," Maya said, adjusting one of the sensors. "Just try to look at them naturally, as if you're browsing through pictures." The test seemed simple enough. 50 photographs of everyday scenes appeared on a screen, each displayed for only a few seconds. Afterward, Maya asked detailed questions. What color was the bicycle in image 12? How many people were sitting at the cafe table in image 27? What was written on the storefront sign in image 35? Lily answered each question without hesitation, the details crystal clear in her mind. Maya's expression remained neutral, but Lily noticed her making additional notes between questions. After several more tests, recalling sequences of numbers, describing past events from specific dates, identifying changes in nearly identical images, Nathan joined them. "How did it go?" he asked Maya. "Preliminary results are consistent with HSAM markers," Maya replied. "Exceptional recall across all tested domains, particularly strong in visual and episodic memory." Nathan nodded, turning to Lily with a smile. "How are you feeling?" "Fine," she said, though the testing had left her with a mild headache. Is that it? For today, he confirmed. We'll analyze these results and design more specific tests for next time, if you're willing to continue. I am. Despite the discomfort, Lily felt strangely validated. For the first time, her memory wasn't something to downplay or hide, it was valuable. As weeks passed, Lily fell into a new routine. Mornings at the daily grind, afternoons split between visiting her mother and participating in Nathan's research, evenings spent alone in her small apartment. The testing evolved from simple recall exercises to complex memory tasks and brain imaging studies. She learned that her ability had a name, hyperthymesia, and that it was exceedingly rare. Fewer than 100 documented cases existed worldwide. Your brain shows unusual activity in the caudate nucleus during memory retrieval, Nathan explained one afternoon, showing her colorful brain scans. And your hippocampal structure is slightly different from typical patterns. Is that good or bad? Lily asked, unsettled by the thought of her brain being physically different. Neither, just different, Nathan assured her. It's these differences that might help us understand how memory formation works and why it fails in disorders like Alzheimer's. Their professional relationship gradually warmed into friendship. Nathan began stopping by the daily grind more regularly, sometimes staying to talk after her shift. He shared stories about his research, his grandmother, his passion for understanding the human mind. Lily found herself opening up about her mother, about growing up with a memory that made her an outsider, about her fears for her own future. Do you ever worry you'll end up like her? Nathan asked one evening as they walked through the university campus after a testing session. Every day, Lily admitted, watching the autumn leaves scatter across their path. I've researched the genetic components of early-onset Alzheimer's. I know the statistics. And yet you still participate in memory research, Nathan observed. That takes courage. Lily shook her head. Not courage. Hope, maybe, or desperation. She paused, then added quietly, sometimes I think my memory is making up for what she's losing, like some cosmic balance. For every memory that slips away from her, I hold on to one more tightly. Nathan was silent for a long moment. That's not how memory works, scientifically speaking, he said finally. But as a metaphor, I understand the feeling. 3 months into the study, Nathan proposed a new direction for their research. We've established the exceptional nature of your memory, he explained during one of their post-testing conversations. Now I'd like to explore its limits and potential applications. What does that mean exactly? Lily asked. I want to test whether your memory could be used as a cognitive support system for memory-impaired individuals, Nathan said, enthusiasm evident in his voice. A form of external memory assistance, essentially. Lily frowned. I don't understand. Think of it this way. Nathan leaned forward, his hands animating his words. What if someone with memory impairment could benefit from your ability to remember? Not just in general terms, but in a structured, therapeutic context? A flicker of understanding dawned. You mean, could I help my mother remember? Potentially, yes. Nathan's expression was cautiously optimistic. We'd need to develop protocols, test the approach with different memory-impaired subjects, but the concept is promising. Hope bloomed in Lily's chest, fragile but insistent. When do we start? The new phase of research involved Lily working with volunteer patients with mild cognitive impairment, not Alzheimer's patients yet, but individuals experiencing memory difficulties. Under careful supervision, she served as a memory guide, helping them navigate recall exercises, providing cues based on information she'd memorized about their lives. The results were modest but encouraging. Patients working with Lily showed slightly better retention of new information and reported feeling less anxious about their memory lapses when she was present. It's not a cure, Nathan reminded her gently after a particularly successful session, but it's a tool, a way to support cognitive function and reduce the emotional distress that comes with memory loss. When can we try it with my mother? Lily asked, the question she'd been holding back for weeks. Nathan hesitated. Lily, your mother's condition is more advanced than our current test subjects. I don't want to give you false hope. I'm not asking for miracles, she insisted. Just a chance to try? After careful consideration and consultation with Eleanor's doctors at Sunset Pines, Nathan agreed to a modified protocol. They would attempt 3 structured memory sessions with Eleanor, with both Nathan and a geriatric specialist present to monitor her responses. The first session was heartbreaking. Eleanor was having one of her bad days, agitated and confused. She didn't recognize Lily at all, becoming increasingly distressed when Lily tried to share memories of their past. "I think we should stop for today," the specialist suggested gently after Eleanor asked for the third time who all these strangers were in her room. Lily nodded, fighting back tears as she watched her mother curl into herself, retreating from a world that no longer made sense to her. Outside Eleanor's room, Nathan placed a steadying hand on Lily's shoulder. "First attempts are often difficult. We'll adjust the approach and try again when she's having a better day." The second session, a week later, went marginally better. Eleanor was calmer, occasionally responding to Lily's carefully structured memory cues with vague recognition. When Lily showed her photographs from a family vacation and narrated specific details, the name of their cabin, how Eleanor had taught her to skip stones on the lake, Eleanor smiled faintly. "That sounds nice," she said, though it was clear she didn't fully remember. Still, it was progress, enough to justify a third attempt. On the morning of the final scheduled session, Lily arrived at the daily grind with dark circles under her eyes. She had spent half the night preparing, organizing photographs and mementos, rehearsing stories that might reach through the fog of her mother's condition. "You look exhausted," Nathan observed when he came in for his coffee. "I couldn't sleep," she admitted, mechanically preparing his order. "Today feels important somehow." "Try not to put too much pressure on the outcome," he advised gently. "Memory work is unpredictable, especially with Alzheimer's." Lily nodded, though they both knew she couldn't help but hope. "I'll see you at Sunset Pines at 3. The rest of her shift passed in a blur of customers and coffee orders, her perfect memory functioning on autopilot while her thoughts remained fixed on the afternoon ahead. When she finally arrived at the care facility, Nathan was already there, talking quietly with the geriatric specialist outside her mother's room. "How is she today?" Lily asked immediately. "Relatively clear," the specialist replied with cautious optimism. "She's been asking about her daughter this morning, which is a good sign." Lily's heart leapt. "She's asking for me? She might not connect the name to you specifically," the specialist cautioned. "But the fact that she's accessing those memories at all is positive." They entered the room together, Lily carrying a small box of items she'd collected, photographs, her mother's favorite scarf, a seashell from their last vacation together before the diagnosis. Eleanor was sitting by the window as usual, but today her eyes seemed more focused, tracking their movement as they entered. "Hello, Mom," Lily said softly, approaching slowly. "It's Lily." Eleanor studied her face for a long moment. "Lily," she repeated, the name clearly searching for its connection in her mind. "Your daughter," Lily supplied gently, sitting beside her. "I brought some things to show you today." With Nathan and the specialist observing quietly from a few feet away, Lily began their carefully planned memory exercise. She showed Eleanor a photograph of them together at Lily's high school graduation, just 4 years ago, before the disease had taken firm hold. "This was my graduation day," Lily explained. "You wore your blue dress, the one with the silver buttons that Grandma gave you. You said it brought good luck." Eleanor touched the photograph, her fingers trembling slightly. "Blue dress?" she murmured. "Silver buttons." Encouraged, Lily continued, pulling out the scarf, soft cashmere in shades of green and blue. "This is your favorite scarf. You wore it every winter. You told me the colors reminded you of the ocean." Something flickered in Eleanor's eyes as she touched the fabric. "Ocean," she repeated. Then, unexpectedly, "We went to Cape Cod." Lily glanced at Nathan in surprise. They hadn't reached that memory cue yet. "Yes, Mom," she confirmed, her voice thick with sudden emotion. "We went to Cape Cod several times. Do you remember?" Eleanor frowned in concentration. "The lighthouse, white with red on top. Highland Light," Lily whispered, reaching into her box for the seashell she'd been saving. "We collected shells on the beach below it. This one was your favorite." She placed the large scallop shell in her mother's hand. Eleanor turned it over, running her fingers along its ridged surface. For a long moment she was silent, and Lily feared the brief connection was already fading. Then Eleanor looked up, her eyes suddenly clear and focused. "Lily," she said, this time with unmistakable recognition. "My Lily." "Yes, Mom," Lily managed, tears spilling down her cheeks. "It's me. You found shells with the perfect ridges," Eleanor continued, her voice stronger now. "You lined them up smallest to largest, so organized even then. The memory was specific, accurate, a detail Lily herself had almost forgotten." She looked toward Nathan, who was watching with barely concealed astonishment. For the next 20 minutes, Eleanor remained present, connected to her memories in a way she hadn't been in months. She didn't remember everything. There were still significant gaps, but she recognized Lily consistently and recalled fragments of their shared past without prompting. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the clarity began to recede. Eleanor's sentences became more fragmented, her focus drifting. The recognition in her eyes when she looked at Lily dimmed, replaced by the now familiar polite confusion. "I think that's enough for today," the specialist said gently, noting Eleanor's increasing agitation. "This has been remarkable progress." Lily nodded, carefully returning the mementos to her box. "Thank you, Mom," she said, squeezing Eleanor's hand. "This meant so much to me." Eleanor smiled vaguely. "You're very nice," she replied, the connection already severed. Outside in the hallway, Nathan could barely contain his excitement. "That was extraordinary, Lily." The way she accessed episodic memories in response to the sensory cues, the scarf, the shell, it suggests pathways we haven't been exploring. "Will it last?" Lily asked, the only question that mattered to her. Nathan's expression sobered. "Likely not. These moments of clarity are typically temporary in Alzheimer's patients. But the fact that those memories are still accessible at all is significant. So we could do this again?" Hope crept into her voice despite her effort to temper it. "Yes," Nathan confirmed, with refinements to the protocol based on what we observed today. The sensory cues seemed particularly effective, objects she could touch and feel, not just see. The specialist joined their conversation. "I'd like to incorporate elements of this approach into Mrs. Mason's regular care plan, not with the expectation of recovery, but to provide these moments of connection that clearly benefit both of you." For the first time in months, Lily felt something like peace settle over her. Her mother's memories were still there, buried but not completely lost, and somehow her own freaky memory was the key that could occasionally unlock them. Over the following weeks, Nathan's research shifted focus. With Lily's permission, he began developing a formal therapeutic protocol based on their work with Eleanor, a structured approach using individuals with exceptional memory as cognitive support for Alzheimer's patients. "We're calling it memory bridge therapy," he explained one evening as they reviewed the draft protocol together in his office. "The concept is that someone like you serves as a memory bridge, holding and organizing autobiographical information for the patient, then presenting it through carefully calibrated sensory cues. And it's helping others? Not just my mom?" Lily asked. "The preliminary results are promising?" Nathan confirmed. "We've seen similar moments of connection with other patients. Nothing miraculous, these are progressive conditions, but meaningful improvements in quality of interaction and reduced agitation." Lily smiled, tracing her finger over the title page of the protocol that bore both their names, Dr. Nathan Reed and Lily Mason. "I never thought my memory would be good for anything but remembering coffee orders." "That's where you're wrong," Nathan said, his voice gentle but firm. "Your memory is extraordinary, Lily. And now it's helping people in a way neither of us imagined when I first watched you work." As winter turned to spring, Lily's life transformed in ways she couldn't have predicted. She reduced her hours at the daily grind to work part-time at the Memory Research Center, helping to refine and implement the Memory Bridge protocol. The university offered her a modest salary as a research associate, enough that she could move her mother to a better room at Sunset Pines and enroll her in an experimental treatment program. Eleanor still had good days and bad days. The disease continued its relentless progression. But the Memory Bridge sessions provided islands of connection in an increasingly disconnected experience, moments when Eleanor could briefly access who she had been, who her daughter was, what they had meant to each other. On one such day, as spring sunshine streamed through the window of Eleanor's room, they sat together looking through a scrapbook Lily had created specifically for their memory work. "Tell me about this," Eleanor said, pointing to a photograph of herself holding a much younger Lily on her lap, both of them laughing. "That's from my 5th birthday," Lily explained. "You baked a cake shaped like a butterfly because I was going through my butterfly phase. The wings were lopsided, but you said that made it more realistic because butterflies are never perfectly symmetrical in nature." Eleanor traced the image with her fingertip. "I remember the cake," she said slowly. "Blue frosting. It stained our teeth." Lily laughed. "It did. We took silly pictures of our blue smiles. Dad said we looked like we'd eaten Smurfs." A shadow passed over Eleanor's face. "Your father, he's not here anymore." "No, Mom," Lily confirmed gently. "Dad passed away 8 years ago." Eleanor nodded, absorbing this information she'd been told many times before. "But you're here," she said, reaching for Lily's hand with sudden clarity. "My Lily with the perfect memory. I'm here," Lily assured her, squeezing her hand. "And I remember everything for both of us now." "Good," Eleanor said with unexpected firmness. "Someone should." Then, in a moment of startling lucidity, she added, "You know, I used to worry about your memory, how you remembered everything, how it made you different. I thought it might make life harder for you." Lily's throat tightened with emotion. "Sometimes it did, but now I see," Eleanor continued, her gaze steady for the moment. "It was preparing you for this, for being my memory when I couldn't be my own." Before Lily could respond, the moment of clarity passed, and Eleanor's attention drifted back to the scrapbook, the profound insight already forgotten. But Lily held on to it, adding it to her vast collection of memories, this one perhaps more precious than most. Later that evening, she recounted the conversation to Nathan as they walked through the university campus, a habit they'd fallen into after their work sessions. "She said my memory was preparing me to be hers," Lily explained, still moved by the interaction. "Like she finally understood why I am the way I am." Nathan was quiet for a moment, considering. "There's no scientific basis for that, of course." "I know," Lily acknowledged, "but it felt meaningful anyway. Sometimes meaning matters more than mechanism," Nathan admitted, surprising her with this departure from his usual scientific perspective. "The human experience isn't just neurons firing and synapses connecting. It's about the stories we tell ourselves to make sense of our lives." They paused on a footbridge spanning a small stream that cut through campus, watching the water flow beneath them. The setting sun cast everything in golden light, including Nathan's face as he turned to her. "Your story has changed, hasn't it?" he asked softly. "From the barista with the unusually good memory to the researcher helping to bridge the gaps in other people's minds." Lily nodded, leaning against the railing. "It has. And my memory doesn't feel like a burden anymore. It feels like a gift I can share." "It is," Nathan agreed. Then, more hesitantly, "Lily, there's something I've been wanting to ask you." The shift in his tone made her turn to face him fully. "What is it?" "The Memory Bridge research has received significant attention. We've been invited to present at the International Conference on Memory Disorders in London this fall." "That's wonderful," Lily said sincerely. "I'd like you to come with me," Nathan continued, "not just as a research subject but as a co-presenter. Your perspective is essential to explaining how the protocol works." Lily stared at him, momentarily speechless. "Me? Present at an international conference? You're as much a part of this development as I am," Nathan insisted. "More in some ways. This approach wouldn't exist without your unique abilities and your willingness to share them." The idea was both terrifying and exhilarating. "I don't know anything about academic conferences," she protested weakly. "You'll learn," Nathan said with confidence. "Just like you learned the research protocols and the therapeutic techniques." As she considered the offer, Lily realized how far she had come from the isolated young woman who had hidden her memory as a source of shame. Now it was being recognized as valuable, not just by Nathan, but potentially by the broader scientific community. "Okay," she agreed finally. "I'll go to London." Nathan's smile was brighter than the sunset behind him. "You won't regret it." The months leading up to the conference were a whirlwind of preparation. Lily continued her work at the research center, helped refine the Memory Bridge protocol, and spent every possible moment with her mother, whose condition remained stable but not improved. Nathan guided her through the process of preparing their presentation, teaching her the language of academic discourse, while ensuring her authentic voice remained central. Their professional collaboration deepened, as did their personal connection, though neither of them had put a name to the warmth that had grown between them. When October arrived and they boarded the flight to London, Lily felt a strange mixture of nerves and anticipation. She had never traveled internationally before, had barely left her home state except for school field trips. Yet here she was, passport in hand, heading to present groundbreaking memory research to experts from around the world. "Nervous?" Nathan asked as the plane taxied down the runway. "Terrified," Lily admitted with a shaky laugh. "What if I forget what to say?" Nathan raised an eyebrow. "You? Forget something? I think we both know that's not going to happen." His teasing broke the tension, and Lily relaxed slightly. "Fair point. But what if they don't take me seriously? I don't have degrees or credentials. I'm just a barista who remembers things." "You're much more than that," Nathan said firmly. "You're an essential partner in this research, and your lived experience with both exceptional memory and Alzheimer's caregiving provides insights no academic training could offer." The confidence in his voice steadied her, as it had so many times over the past months. Nathan had seen value in her when she couldn't see it in herself, had transformed what she perceived as a quirk into a meaningful contribution to science and healing. The conference itself was a blur of presentations, networking events, and intense discussions about the future of memory research. Lily absorbed it all, her natural ability to retain information serving her well as she navigated this new world. Their own presentation, scheduled for the second day, was titled Memory Bridge, utilizing exceptional autobiographical memory as a therapeutic tool in Alzheimer's care. As they prepared backstage, Lily felt her nervousness return. "What if I can't answer their questions?" she whispered to Nathan as they waited to be introduced. "Then I will," he replied simply. "We're a team, remember?" The word team warmed her more than it should have. They had become a team in so many ways: researcher and subject, doctor and patient's daughter, friends, and now, perhaps, something more. When they took the stage, Lily's anxiety faded as she focused on sharing what they had learned. She spoke about her experience as a memory bridge for her mother, how the protocol had evolved, what success looked like in these interactions. Nathan presented the scientific data, the brain imaging studies, the quantifiable results. Together, they painted a complete picture, the science and the humanity of their approach intertwined. During the question period, a distinguished neuroscientist raised his hand. "This is fascinating work, but I wonder about the practical applications given the rarity of individuals with hyperthymesia. How do you propose to scale this approach?" It was a fair question, one they had anticipated. Nathan looked to Lily, giving her the space to respond. "You're right that people with my specific memory profile are rare," Lily acknowledged, "but the principles of the Memory Bridge protocol can be adapted. We've begun training individuals with even moderately strong autobiographical memory to serve as memory supports using structured documentation and retrieval techniques." She went on to explain how they were developing technological aids to supplement human memory bridges, apps and devices that could store and strategically present autobiographical information in ways that mimicked their approach. "The goal isn't to rely solely on rare memory abilities," she concluded. "It's to understand what makes our approach effective and replicate those elements in ways that can reach more patients." The scientist nodded, seemingly satisfied with her response. More questions followed, and for each one, Lily found herself speaking with increasing confidence. This was her expertise now, not just remembering, but understanding what it meant to serve as a connection to lost memories. After the presentation, they were surrounded by colleagues eager to discuss potential collaborations. University representatives approached with research opportunities. A publishing editor suggested they consider writing a book about their work. "I told you they'd take you seriously," Nathan murmured as they finally escaped to a quiet corner of the reception area. "I still can't believe this is happening," Lily admitted. "A year ago, I was just making coffee and visiting my mom, feeling helpless as she slipped away. And now?" She considered the question carefully. "Now I still make coffee sometimes. I still visit my mom. She's still slipping away. That hasn't changed. But I'm not helpless anymore. What we're doing matters, even if it can't save her." Nathan's expression softened. "That's what drew me to you first, you know. Not just your memory, impressive as it is. It was the way you connected with people over that counter, remembering not just their orders but pieces of their lives. You were already building memory bridges before you knew what to call them." The personal nature of his observation caught her off guard. "Is that why you kept coming back for plain black coffee? For research?" "At first," he admitted. "But then—" He hesitated, suddenly looking less like the confident researcher and more like someone taking a risk. "Then it was just to see you." The admission hung between them, changing the air like a shift in barometric pressure before a storm. They had carefully maintained professional boundaries throughout their work together, despite the growing closeness between them. Now, thousands of miles from home, those boundaries seemed to be dissolving. "Nathan," Lily began, unsure what she wanted to say. Before she could continue, they were interrupted by another conference attendee eager to discuss their work. The moment passed, but the awareness it had created remained, a current running beneath their interactions for the rest of the evening. It wasn't until later, walking back to their hotel through London's lamp-lit streets, that they found themselves alone again. "I'm sorry about earlier," Nathan said as they crossed Westminster Bridge, the Houses of Parliament illuminated against the night sky. I shouldn't have said that. Why not? Lily asked, stopping to face him. Was it not true? It was absolutely true, he replied without hesitation. But our work together, the research, your mother's care, it's too important to complicate. Lily smiled, understanding his concern. Nathan, my life was complicated long before I met you. You're the one who helped me find clarity in the complication. She took a step closer to him, emboldened by the night and the distance from their everyday lives. You saw value in the thing that had always made me different. You helped me transform it from a quirk into a gift. How could I not care about you? The admission hung between them, honest and unadorned. Nathan's expression softened, the professional reserve he maintained giving way to something more vulnerable. I care about you too, Lily. More than I should, probably. According to what metric? She challenged, the academic language making him smile. Fair point, he conceded. I don't actually have empirical standards for appropriate levels of caring. Good, Lily said firmly, because I don't think this is something that fits neatly into research parameters. The tension between them shifted, became something warmer, more certain. Nathan reached out slowly, giving her time to step away if she wanted. Instead, Lily moved closer, closing the distance between them until she could feel the warmth of him against the cool night air. When he kissed her, it felt like the natural conclusion to a hypothesis long in testing, the confirmation of something they had both suspected but needed to verify through direct experience. Lily's perfect memory would preserve this moment in crystalline detail, the lights reflecting on the Thames below them, the distant sound of traffic, the slight hesitation in Nathan's touch that gave way to certainty as she responded. Years from now, she would be able to recall it with the same clarity as the moment itself. But for once, she wasn't thinking about remembering. She was simply experiencing the present, letting it unfold without cataloging or preserving it. For this moment, at least, she was fully present, not a repository of memories, not a bridge between past and present, just a woman discovering something new and precious. Their return to America brought changes, both professional and personal. The Memory Bridge Protocol received funding for expanded clinical trials. Lily was offered a formal position at the research center as a memory bridge specialist, a title created specifically for her unique role. She kept one shift a week at the daily grind, unwilling to completely abandon the place where her journey had begun. Eleanor's condition continued its inevitable progression, but the memory bridge sessions provided ongoing moments of connection. Sometimes the bridges held for minutes, sometimes for nearly an hour. Each connection felt like a small miracle, a temporary reprieve from the relentless advance of the disease. One spring afternoon, almost exactly a year after Nathan had first approached her about her memory, Lily sat with her mother in the garden at Sunset Pines. Eleanor was having one of her clearer days, reminiscing about Lily's childhood with surprising detail after their memory session. You always collected things, Eleanor recalled, watching a butterfly hover near the flowers beside them. Rocks, shells, bottle caps. You said each one had a story. I still have some of those collections, Lily admitted. The special rocks are in a jar on my bookshelf. Eleanor smiled, patting Lily's hand. You were collecting memories even then, before you knew what they were worth. The insight startled Lily with its clarity. I guess I was. And now you help others with their memories. Eleanor continued. Nathan told me about your work when he visited yesterday. He's been coming to see you? Lily asked, surprised. Eleanor nodded. When you're working. He reads to me sometimes. Nice man. Very patient. The thought of Nathan visiting her mother independently, spending time with her when Lily wasn't even there to observe, filled her with unexpected emotion. He cares about you, Eleanor added, with the straightforward perception that occasionally cut through her confusion. And you care about him. I do, Lily confirmed, no longer surprised by her mother's moments of insight. Good, Eleanor said firmly. Life is too short not to care deeply, Lily. Remember that when I can't. The simple wisdom of her words, and the awareness behind them, brought tears to Lily's eyes. I will, Mom. I promise. That evening, Lily recounted the conversation to Nathan as they prepared dinner in her small apartment, a routine they had fallen into several nights a week. She knows you've been visiting her? Lily said, chopping vegetables while Nathan stirred something on the stove. She called you patient. Nathan smiled. High praise from Eleanor. She doesn't suffer fools gladly even now. Why didn't you tell me you were visiting her? He shrugged, looking slightly embarrassed. It started when you had that conference call with the research team in California. I went to explain why you couldn't make your usual session, and she seemed disappointed. So I stayed and read to her instead, and kept going back. Lily finished for him. She's important to you, Nathan said simply. That makes her important to me. The straightforward declaration warmed her more than any elaborate profession could have. In his quiet way, Nathan had integrated himself into the most vulnerable, difficult part of her life, not as a researcher studying a subject, but as someone who genuinely cared. I love you, Lily said, the words emerging naturally without premeditation. Nathan looked up from the stove, momentarily surprised, then smiled with a certainty that suggested he'd been waiting for this moment. I love you too, Lily. More than I have adequate words to express. That's saying something, coming from someone with your vocabulary, she teased, deflecting slightly from the intensity of emotion. He set down the spoon he was holding and crossed the small kitchen to stand before her. Some experiences defy precise language, he said softly, even for neuroscientists. As he drew her into his arms, Lily thought about memory, how it shaped lives, how it connected people across time, how its absence created voids that could never truly be filled. She thought about her mother, gradually losing the memories that defined her, and about herself, unable to forget even the smallest details. She thought about how Nathan had helped her transform her perfect recall from a burden into a gift, not just for herself, but for others struggling with memory's fragility. Most of all, she thought about how a chance encounter between a barista with an extraordinary memory and a scientist studying memory's mysteries had changed both their lives in ways neither could have predicted. What are you thinking about? Nathan murmured against her hair. Everything? Lily replied honestly. Every moment that led us here. That's a lot of moments, he observed with a smile in his voice. I remember them all, she said, the words both a simple statement of fact and a promise. And I always will. For a young woman who had once viewed her perfect memory as a quirk that separated her from others, this certainty was no longer a burden but a blessing, a way to hold not just her own story, but the stories of those she loved, safe against time's erosion. In the kitchen of her small apartment, wrapped in the arms of a man who had seen value in her difference, Lily Mason, once just a barista who remembered every customer's order, embraced the fuller truth of who she had become. A bridge between memory and forgetting, past and present, loss and love. And in that moment, it was enough.